There we are.
The stream is live.
Yes, it is, and nobody's watching. I have to make sure that people are here, ready and willing and impatient for the stream to start. Uh, all of a sudden, we have three people.
That would be the ideal.
Hmm. Yeah, welcome to the Cavern of Chaos. For I don't know. I don't have a theme. I never have a theme.
Theme. What's a theme?
Hmm.
Speaking of a theme, since I saw someone else making this, I was thinking of what my, and the question is always how to start collecting comics, or I'm new to collecting comics. Where do I start? And
Missing Mars is here, the most timely podcast going.
We always start right on time.
Yeah, when it says 2-1-0, we start. We're not like those guys that are waiting for people to come and they only press the button 10 minutes later. No.
Nope.
No, you have to be here
and right on time.
Yeah, Tit Goblin's here too.
What I was thinking, what would my advice to be?
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, my advice would be to someone who's starting reading comics.
Mm-hmm.
My advice would be, don't start collecting comics. Start reading comics first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But people call that collecting comics when it's really not.
Right. We're shooting ourselves in the foot referring to collecting comics.
Yeah.
Because people think that there's an inherent monetary value.
Right.
And it also it makes us feel like the only way we can justify our hobby if it's actually an adult hobby. These are worth money, so it's worth putting in time to collect comics.
There's some value to owner. The value is in the ownership. The value isn't in the reading.
Mm-hmm.
Which meant that's what I was thinking about too. I was like, but I understand people's being lost. Because especially over here in the U.S., if you go into a comic shop, you have access to decades worth of comics.
Yeah. Hello there, Wilson.
Hello.
I was just starting off with I was watching a video or two about people giving advice to people who are new to collecting comics. And my first advice is don't collect comics, read comics.
Mm-hmm. Missing Mars collects for the nostalgia, so he won't sell. Yeah, well, your hairs will either sell or throw them away.
Right.
Which is also very possible.
Right.
Yeah.
There are plenty of nostalgia collectors. There are plenty of what back issue collectors.
Right.
Those are the different types of collectors. We have I'm a reader.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a reader first. There's a sliding scale, a spectrum. But like a lot of the guys on from the Graphic Man's channel, they're back issue collectors. That's what they like. They like
the old ones I smell. So you're on drugs.
Yeah, I never. People love the smell of rotting newsprint. I just don't.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like smoking a cigar.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people, man, I can't. Oh, that thing smells foul. Get it away from me. No. When you are enjoying a nice Dominican cigar.
Right. But I would say when Wilson and I were kids, it wasn't hard. You walked into the store and whatever comics were there that month is what you tried when you were starting.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we had decades worth of back issues.
Mm-hmm. We had maybe a couple of months of knowledge. Yeah.
Right.
Kind of a thing, maybe a year. Because I know I was buying it off the newsstands for at least the first 3, if not 4 or 5 years before, let's see, 84, 85, 86, 87. Yeah, maybe 5 years before I discovered a comic book shop.
Yeah, in those days, the newsstand was a viable way to get comics. The easy way, you go to your local 5 and dime store, whatever it was, 7-Eleven.
Yep.
Repeat. Read first, collect as art. Second, collect as a collection. Third, collect for value. Fourth. Yeah.
That's about where I am.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That Goblin says, my advice would be check out your local library. Yes. And if you get into anything, go to your local store and get to know the staff and regulars. The hobby is more fun with new friends socially. Yeah,
That is 100% true.
Right, because you have to figure out what you like. And sometimes if you start talking to people without having some boundaries first or that you've given yourself, they tell, okay, so you collect this one because it's the first appearance of so and so, so it'll be worth money, and then it isn't, and then you think it's a waste of time. So you should try reading first. And if you go with things that are similar to what you like in literature or movies and TV, you should find something that you like.
Try to turn off that FOMO in your brain, fear of missing out, because some people go, like you said, oh, you got to get this one. Even in Sleepy Reader, it's the first appearance of so and so. And you might get it, and then you'll be like, "What now?"
Yeah,
right, exactly.
I don't feel any thrill. Why am I here?
Yeah, I guess when I started, because before I got into Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel. I was a Marvel zombie, but before that we had Disney, and older readers, they would not read these comics because they had moved on to something different. So if you read periodicals, you were a little kid. If you read albums, you were an adult with a discerning taste. Of course, you were still buying Asterix, which is for little kids. But there's the thing: if you start buying Disney, okay, it doesn't really matter because Disney doesn't have continuity. But you like the characters, you like the stories. They're fun. They're fun to read. So it's that thing that you once said about buying 5 comics a year. So you buy a Disney comic, and whenever you feel like buying another one, a couple months from now, you do.
But the people we're giving advice to are probably adults and not kids.
Yeah, right. And
so that's a distinction too. But
right.
I like the idea of a library is a good one because you don't spend any money. But most people never go to libraries.
They don't even think about it. Yeah,
they don't even think about it. And here is sort of like the balance too is there's even 2 different ways to read. There's Paolo's way, trade paperbacks, collected editions, because he wants the whole thing.
Right.
There's mine and Wilson's way, to buy them as periodicals and read them as they go along. Jumping in both ways have their pluses and minuses.
Right.
The plus to reading the whole thing is, of course, you get to read the whole thing. The minus is if you don't like it, you're stuck with a lot more stuff than if you just bought one issue. And which is why the library would be a good thing. But if you spend money, let's just say you spend $15 on a collected edition and you don't like it, that's going to give you a bigger sense of disappointment than if you spent $4 on a little piece. But of course, with the $4, you only get a little piece. Maybe you're not used to reading periodicals. Maybe you're not used to that cliffhanger, to that, oh, it's over now? I didn't get it. I want more. I don't want just this little piece. So there's pluses and minuses with both sides.
And right now we live in the era of binge watching. So you're not going to buy a periodical and then wait 1 or 2 months until the next issue.
Right.
You want to read the whole thing, and you do want to start from the beginning.
But with binge watching, if you watch an episode and don't like it, you stop and you never think of it again. With a trade paperback, you read one issue and you don't like it, there's still 5 more issues left, and it's got to sit around for a while. You got to think about it until you can get rid of it some. And how do you get rid of it? So that's like a downside to starting with them.
Eric P says he got his first comics at a drugstore and didn't find an LCS. Sure.
My LCS didn't open until I was 15.
Yeah, if you started reading before the 90s, you probably still started at the drugstore.
And you were a kid. It's different starting reading comics when you were a kid and starting reading comics when you're a grown adult. And most of the
Yeah.
people I see, like on TikTok or something, who say, "Where do I start?" are grown adults.
Right. And LCS, yeah, that's a smart LCS owner, because not all of them are smart. You're using the newspaper to advertise and to talk to parents,
Right.
which usually they skip. But yeah, you do need some recommendations. So
Yeah.
and going back to the European comic thing, it's easier to recommend something because the fact that they're not periodicals, so it's not
Right.
like it's not like you started buying this and all of a sudden you're filling up the house with a bunch of paper, with a
Mhm.
pile of so you want, let's say, okay, so you should read Blake and Mortimer. Okay, you don't even have to give them the first one. You can give them the fifth one or the sixth one.
Right.
The continuity is not tight. There are each album is its own unless it's marketed as a 2 or 3 parter, and there are a few.
I think continuity is less of a problem than it used to be because of the movies.
Right.
People are used to watching superhero movies with different continuities and different timelines.
Hey, Donald Rex.
Hello there.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think that the continuity itself. I mean, I did start when everything was to be continued. So it's not.
Yeah, me too.
That was part of what attracted me, because
Right.
the problem is not with the to be continued, because with the writing for the trade and the writing for the omnibus, they are really putting out chapters where nothing happens because they're just talking. And
Right.
back then, you did need to have something happening, even if it was a setup for the next issue.
Right.
So you do need a fight, you do need conflict, you do need a subplot, something that'll keep you
Back when I
hooked.
started, you could start with any comic book, just about.
Right. Mhm.
Yeah,
Right.
I've seen many times, like, go to the comic book shop weekly, and because I go to Midtown Comics Grand Central, they're in the middle of New York, and there are always people coming up who's never been in the comic book shop before. And you
Mhm.
hear the conversations always come up, and it's like, oh, my kid likes the movies. What do you recommend? And the comic book shop guy always, his first words is, what does he like?
Right.
Because we need to know what is it that they enjoy first, and then it goes from there. Does he like this kind of story, that kind of story?
I
Is
think kids are
she?
actually easier.
I think so too.
You
Yeah,
can
I
get
think
them in just
there's
about
a
anything.
yes.
and it was also easier to start in the at the drugstore, because you don't have all of the comics at that drugstore. So there's probably a dozen
Yeah.
or two
That's just when
or
you
two
walk
that
Yes.
into a comic shop, there's like back issues
500
everywhere.
comics. Oh no, where do you start really?
Yeah.
Yes. Where you had the spinner rack, whatever cover really jumped out, that was going to be grabbed first
Yeah.
to be flipped through,
You've got a
and then
case with comic books worth thousands in it or hundreds.
Mhm.
That you don't start there.
yeah, exactly. So there's these things where it was easier to stumble onto comics. And I'll be at a flea market walking around with my parents, and somebody would have a crate full of comic books.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
The
yeah.
library is definitely a good idea. People just don't go to the library is the problem.
Mhm.
Telling them to go to the library for a lot of people is like telling them to go to the moon.
yeah, I always go to the library. It's a lot of fun. It's easier now. There's
Yeah.
an app you could take a book out and just walk in, use the app, take out a book, and walk out. You don't even have to deal with people a lot of these times. If you are socially shy, kind of a
You
thing.
can order
You,
books from other libraries and they'll send it to your library.
yes, exactly. And if you want to read the books digitally, you can do it through the library as well.
Through the Hoopla app.
So
That's another
much
thing.
so much media that you don't have to actually pay for anything, and a library card is free.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You know, so
Yes.
Hoopla might be a good in, the library app, because you can borrow comics from it.
yes.
$8
Yeah,
a month.
the Japanese publishers now have everything online. But they're behind a paywall. But they make it easy to access, and American publishers are not doing that.
No, Marvel and DC both have online. Them,
Yeah, but
DC and Marvel Unlimited.
they put some in, they take some out.
Oh.
They forget to put complete runs. Yeah,
I
or they
haven't
make it
looked at it in a
dependent
while.
on
I
you,
don't really know.
or they make it dependent on you downloading a specific app so you can read them there.
Yeah.
So for Marvel, is one app that they have is the Marvel Universe, and if you already bought a comic, you can load it up on the app to read it later if you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that entertaining on its own. That again, comic books look great on an iPad. So there are ways to get them without spending way too much.
Library here is a lot of graphic novels, no actual but that's not a problem.
Yeah, it's all collected. The comics are in collected editions and such. Yeah, they're not dealing with individual issues. That's for
Right.
sure.
Yeah, but that's not a problem. I mean, you're going there to read.
Right.
Ultimately, it doesn't matter what format they're in, and probably if it's better for you if all of a sudden, if you want to get started on something, it has 100 to 200 pages for you to get started.
Yeah, and also it solves the problem that I was saying about if you read one issue and don't like it, you now have a chunk of 6 issues lying around. The library, just return it to them. No have to worry about that. It's just
exactly.
People don't go to the library is the problem.
My in-back. I was looking for a few cartoonists I liked from the 90s and picked up their new stuff in Dollar Bin Memories. Okay. My library has not only a graphic novel and manga, but they have a yearly Comic Con and a small press show at the library. Yeah, that's good. I mean, if you're showing new artists, and it's probably a good thing if you to get a personal connection to the artists, especially if they're indie, because indies are tougher to sell, even to new readers. Indies are tougher to sell because they're not aware of the brand.
Right.
Even if you've never read Spider-Man, you're kind of familiar with Spider-Man. Yeah, I heard about that. I've seen it. I know there are movies. I know there are toys. So, okay, let's give Spider-Man a try. If you want to give them something that was made by Noah Van Sciver, who's Noah Van Sciver? What am I reading here? And so it's not. But if you take Noah Van Sciver there, and he introduces his new graphic novel, and you can buy and get it signed by the artist, it's better. It's a personal connection.
I go to the library and rejoice. With all the unread stuff in his house, he still goes to the library.
Yes, but you're used to working in print media. You're surrounded by paper, so it's normal to you. Big guests this year were Raina Telgemeier and Scott McCloud.
Oh, those are good. Cool. My local library has a con every year too, but it's really for kids. I don't think there's ever been actual guests that. Certainly not of those names.
Yeah, what we have here is really not appropriate for kids because since they're primarily an art exhibit.
Yeah.
The things that are put up on the walls for people to look at, they're not appropriate for children, or even if they are appropriate, they're not attractive to children. So what parents usually do, they take their kids there, they leave the kids with somebody who's doing face paints on them, and they leave the kid there for an hour, and they go watch the exhibits or pick up a book or two, and then when they're done, they go to the kid. They go get the kid, and the kid still doesn't know anything about comics.
I've seen a couple of articles online. I don't know how much truth they hold them, but they're about how a lot of students can make it through high school these days without ever having been assigned a novel to read. So they get to college and maybe have to read, and they've never read before. They've never read like a book from cover to cover. So
Right.
getting
That's
those
wild.
people to read is probably difficult.
Yeah, and you can listen to an audiobook, but you can't analyze an audiobook because
It's a different
the
experience,
right.
completely different experience.
I have some
Mhm.
sketches from this visit to the library. Oh, cool.
Ah,
Nice.
Nice.
that's cool.
Yeah, next time you're on, you can show those.
That sounds like a big city library. Where is it?
Mhm.
So, though Chris Geruso and Greg Schiegel have done a lot of libraries. I know that.
My local library, the big one in Fordham Road, used to have a convention, comic convention, but it was run by Bronx Heroes Comic Con. So they were located in the library. And so you had someone running that, and he had different events in the Bronx, and the library one was one of the more fun ones. But you run the problem of space. They
Yeah.
didn't have like they did have an auditorium and they did have rooms, but they were tiny rooms that would be more like classrooms. So they were more used for like the panels and stuff like that. And then where the tables went was in the open spaces like between the books and
Ah,
stuff like that. But I've always had fun at those type of local library ones because you get to talk to people, you get to talk to kids. A lot of kids do go to those cons. The problem is all those kids do not have any money. It's so you gotta not only have to convince the kid that maybe they'll like this book, but you also have to convince the parent who's paying for it. And it's very hard for a parent to buy a book of a character they've never seen before.
yeah. That brings me to an interesting point. The first comic shop I went to, which closed in the late '90s, it was open all through the '80s and '90s. Marge Feuerstein ran it, and she had an interesting observation that she told me. Um, that isn't quite true anymore, and it wasn't quite as true in the late '90s either. Is that comic books used to be the first thing that kids bought with their own money. Like you just said, the parents, you have to convince the parents to buy the book. When I was 10 years old and comic books were a quarter or 30 cents, that's what you bought with your allowance money, and you didn't have to ask your parents for money because you had $1 of allowance money to spend however you wanted. And comic books were one of the first things that kids had their own control over buying. I don't think that's true anymore. I don't even
I,
know if kids have anything but their parents' credit cards anymore.
Hmm.
I don't either. I do not know if kids went go to the store on their own
Yeah,
to pick up something for their parents.
right.
I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. I was buying cigarettes for my
Yeah.
parents.
Hmm.
I
They
was
send
going to
you
the
to the
store.
store.
I was embezzling their change to buy comics.
Right.
So it's like, here, oh, you want to go to the store? Okay, I'll go to the store. I'll buy you stuff. I'm keeping the change and I'm buying comics with the
Yeah,
change.
that's how kids got their
But that's
comics in
how it
those
is.
days with their own money.
I've even traded in bottles
Right.
to have just in because I think I was like when they went to 75 cents, oh, I was upset.
Oh, yeah,
I
that
was
was real money.
completely upset. So it's like I got to get an extra quarter from somewhere.
When they
And it
went
was
from
like,
30 to 35 cents, that was like, whoa.
yeah, I was on the
50 to 7. They went to
uh,
65 cents first, right?
yes,
50
I
to
was on the
60 to
50.
65 to 75.
Yeah, I was on 65. I was
Okay.
on 65. Most of the comics I was buying, I recall 65 easily. They may have been a few that were the 60 cents, and I don't know if they were ever a 55, if it went to 50 to 60. But I remember them being
Yeah, it went from
60.
50 to 60 to 65. I don't think they were ever 55.
Right. So yeah, so I definitely remember 60
Yeah.
because I started with comics from movies and TV connections. Star Wars was definitely something I was reading early. and it was like it was fun, but I wasn't collecting it. I was just buying it, reading it. Don't know what happened to those issues. And again, being a kid who bought it with their own money, trying to find other kids who were reading the same thing. That was the other thing, because history class, these kids were all freaking out about Spider-Man. I knew nothing of it. And when I asked the question, they knew nothing how he got the costume. He just had a new costume. But I never talked to these kids before that happened. Seventh grade history class. I couldn't even tell you the teacher's name. I couldn't even tell you those kids' name. But the only conversation I ever had with them was about these comics. Oh, I collect comics. I get these. They didn't care.
Yeah.
And it's like, but they had no real information. It's like, okay, I got to look for this myself. So I think it probably wasn't until maybe the 8th or 9th grade that I found people who were willing to talk about what they got.
Yeah.
Because, again, until I got into the High School of Art and Design, you didn't talk about you read comics.
Yeah, yeah.
Because apparently that, and again, it depends on the school.
Right.
So I did 1 year in a Vander Charles high school in the Bronx, which at that time was the worst high school ever. But no, they didn't care that I read comics. It was like looked down. So I didn't really socialize with them, with anyone there. Yet they knew all the characters' names to be able to, bother me about it. So it's like, all right, fine, whatever. So comics for a while was like a solitary thing until you eventually found your group of people.
Yeah, Donald Rex and Mystic Mars had paper routes, which it was normal for kids to have this type of jobs back then, and now it's not.
Yeah, now there are no paper routes left.
Right.
Yeah, and even if there was the type of job that a kid could do, parents wouldn't let them.
Right.
Leaving the house? No.
Ann Arbor, Michigan was the Eric P. City. A college town. Okay. Cigarettes equals comics.
Oh yeah. Got them cigarettes. I don't recall buying beer for them, but I definitely did get cigarettes a lot.
Yeah, with cigarettes. I didn't have parents who smoked, but I know it was cigarettes that parents sent the kids to the store for.
And then eventually, like in New Rochelle, a small town enough to, I worked for the corner store, stocking stuff, and whatever extra money I got, I ended up using that to buy comics. So I don't think kids are doing that.
No,
at all.
Dit Goblin is also an entrepreneur, so
sells art and a lot of art for comics. That's his family profession.
So yeah, you could get money more easily back then. Everything was easier.
I got my first summer job when I was 15, and I could buy plenty of comics from then on in. But I don't know. Do kids have summer jobs anymore? I don't know.
Well, my buddy's kids had jobs for like a summer programs. They went to these summer programs, and then they eventually became camp counselors type of thing. So those are still around. And I knew that, and I know one group of them were working at like kiosks and booths at like Great Adventure type places, not necessarily Great Adventure, but they're a little older. I think they were doing this when they were in high school.
Right.
I don't know
if you can't get a job till you're in high school anyway, so
right.
It's an allowance before then. But like so many parents don't even use cash these days. I don't know if they're giving their kids allowances. They're just paying for it on their credit card.
They're paying for it on their Apple phones and what have you. Yeah. So they're tapping in and out kind of a thing.
Also collected a lot of bottles, which is another thing that you can't do. Collect bottles and cans. There aren't any.
Yeah. So we did that. I
couldn't do that in the 70s in New York. There was no bottle law then.
No, paper is still delivered as in by adults in cars.
We just broke bottles and cans. That's what we did. We went to vacant lots and smashed bottles. Yeah.
Well, we don't have paper routes here because we live in apartment buildings, so you can't just cycle and throw the paper. The person who subscribes to the paper is up there on the 4th floor. They're not going to open the door for you.
adults took over paper delivery around here. I don't know, sometime in the 80s.
Yeah, but here if you subscribe to a paper, you always got it in the mailbox. It was the mailman that delivered it. So
Yeah, you're not.
it's not.
If you're not a federal mailman, you can't put anything in a mailbox in the U.S.
Right.
Well, here you have a contract with the post office.
If the post office delivers it, that's a whole other thing. But yeah, you just got the paper wrapped in plastic and thrown on your front lawn.
Yeah, here that one just wouldn't do. Michigan still has 10 cents, and there are plenty of people who collect those.
Yeah.
Nice.
I don't drink anything in bottles either.
Yeah. Those took over paper us in the 90s, and we don't have a local paper any longer.
Yeah, we don't really either. We've got a Gannett paper still, I think. We have got once a week somebody drives by and throws a free paper with like ads in it. Like the local supermarket ads in it, throws it on top of our driveway. That's the only paper I ever see.
Another place where you start reading comics.
What's that?
Another place you could start reading comics, the paper.
Yeah. Read your Sunday comics. Huh. Did you make it to the comic shop this week, Wilson?
As a matter of fact, I did. I had a comic book. I had two comic books waiting for me. Last week's book and this week's book. It was just one book per week, and yet I just got the alert that my card was charged $30. So there should be plenty books next week.
I might not be able to get to the comic shop till Saturday next week. I'm like, what? I have to go in early on Wednesday when I usually go to the shop. And I don't think my shop's even open on Thursday and Friday. I'm gonna have to double check. I know they're open on Saturday.
Okay.
Should they put many comics of those crazy Labubu fat toys? Kids would go nuts for them. We had some in those gourmety toys back in the early 2000s. Many comics of the type, and I used to own a couple of New Adventures of He-Man mini comics, and I threw those out many years ago.
I did just see they're making Bazooka Joe comics for the first time in 20 years or something. The little comics that you get with your Bazooka bubblegum.
I believe that's owned or was owned by Topps.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're just re-releasing it.
Yeah, they're making new ones was the announcement. It showed some of them.
Oh, look at that. Those are always fun. Very disposable comics.
Yep.
I think if you collect a bunch of them, you're able to get something.
Yeah.
But I never
got it. We did that once.
Oh, yeah?
It was the funniest thing back when I was in college. So SUNY Purchase college years. So it was around 88 probably. We were like, let's chew a bunch of, one of the things you could send away for was Bazooka Joe t-shirts. And we were like, let's chew a bunch of gum, send away. There was like 6 of us. Send away for Bazooka Joe t-shirts and have a Bazooka Joe party. So that's what we did. Chewed gum, I don't know, for a couple of weeks, a month. Sent away for the t-shirts. We got the t-shirts back, and they were all children's t-shirts. We never even thought of that. So we had half a dozen large children's t-shirts.
Fantastic.
They didn't quite fit. We did not get to have our Bazooka Joe t-shirt party.
The joys of mail away stuff, not knowing what you're going to get.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
So show us some comics.
All right. So from last week, or what was waiting for me there, is under the banner Summer of Superman. Is the newest issue of Superman Legion of Darkseid Part 2, but it's Superman issue number 29. And basically, Darkseid is taking over time and has been sending a evil legion of superheroes through time to attack people. And of course, the only way to stop them is that you have a new timekeeper, which happens to be, of all people, Doomsday. Is now what they're calling what did they call him? He has a new name.
So they gave
Uh,
Doomsday a job to keep him out of trouble.
but Doomsday here is being kept out of trouble. Superman needs help, and who do they bring in to help Superman? But Superboy Prime, who is an evil character. He's based on the original Superboy. After Crisis ended, Superboy was put like in a pocket universe, and
Right.
he eventually um, got corrupt. And it opens up with him reading Superman comics, talking about. Let's see if that zooms in better. Talking about his like a quick little origin, but they also makes he's aware of various reboots and
Because
what's
he read
going
the
on
comics.
because he got the comics. He remembers each time he was rebooted, and because this new timekeeper had disappeared, they're trying to figure out how do they go into the future. And Superboy has the ability to break through time and space itself.
Uh-huh.
And so they're going to travel to the future with him literally punching reality. And one of my favorite lines of this book is he says, "Come on." Let's see if that zooms in. If not, I'll read it. "Come on, get Silver Age with me." Basically stating we're going to get a little silly. And he does this whole speech to Superman saying, "Don't worry, I know how this is going to end. We're going to get there. We're going to meet the Legion of Superheroes. It's going to be a great 2-page spread." And their mission is to save Booster Gold, who is a time traveling character that Superman has no memory of. So whatever Darkseid was doing, erase Superman's memory. So once they get to the future, it's not as bright as they thought it was going to be.
It
So
never is.
they completely missed what Superboy said was going to happen. Is that we're going to fight the evil Legion, but we know the good legions are all going to show up from different timelines to help fight. And it looks like that battle of the legions has already happened.
Mm-hmm.
So through the course of the story, Superman is trying to figure out what's going on and how can they stop Darkseid and how can they stop the evil legion of the superheroes. In this particular continuity, Superman did go to the future when he was Superboy to learn to be a superhero. So that's still part of the continuity. And so there's quite a few surprises. Booster Gold's been missing for over 2 years, and he's found. And again, the wackiness ensues from it. And of course, I won't do any spoilers, but if you know Superboy Prime, you know how it's going to most likely end. So it was a good read. I read it on the train on the way home, and I enjoyed it. I know I have the previous issue, I just didn't read it. But since I was on the train, I was like, oh, let me read this one. And
Now I'll have
I
to read the one that comes before it.
yeah, so I enjoy it, and I'm realizing that DC Comics are made for older eyes because the font's a lot bigger. The other book that I picked up is a Spider-Man book, Amazing Spider-Man issue 975. Legacy is 975. It's actually issue 11, but it's also a pricey $7.99 book.
Ooh.
And I could not read it on the train because the font was too small. So it's like, all right, I'm going to have to read this later.
You
On
don't
the
bring reading
inside,
glasses with you everywhere? I do.
I usually do. I did it today. I remember closing the door and getting on the elevator. It's like, I forgot my glasses. Yeah, it'll be okay.
Yeah.
So it's a double-sized book. And I did see, I think there is a Jim Shooter tribute in this issue.
Ah.
I saw it when I flipped through it before. So here's the 2-page spread.
Jim Shooter.
Jim Shooter tribute.
We'll be nice to him now that he's dead.
Oh yeah. So I haven't read the book. Don't know what's going on in it. I did open it up, and apparently there are two Spider-Mans. One's Spider-Man and one's Peter Parker. So I am not sure what's going on. Who may be the real one?
What does that mean?
So who knows what kind of shenanigans are going on there? Alternate reality.
By the way,
character from the
I
future or
love how
past.
they're saying, "Wow, there's 2 Spider-Mans." Like there's not a dozen Spider-Man.
Well, Spider-Man, like Marvel, is a franchise. They don't want you making your own Spider-Man, but let them make it because, they're practically franchises. So those are the 2 books that I picked up this week.
Did you see the hot book of the week, which I couldn't believe, the price gouging? There we go.
Eric P. is asking about it.
#1 this week.
I did not get a Batman #1.
It's not just the Batman #1. Is that there's a Batman #1 blind as a bat bag.
Yeah.
You know what? I think I saw the bag and I just walked right by it. It didn't even click that something was happening. Batman has a new #1. Yay!
I saw. Hello there. I saw people opening up 2, 3, 4 copies of that Batman blind bag on TikTok, and they're $10 a piece.
Then no.
I was just like, "What are you, crazy?"
What is the price of the regular books, and what's in the blind bags?
In the blind bag are specialty covers of different rarities. So you could open up the gold foil Jim Lee 1 in 500, or you could open up a regular one, or you can open up a silver foil 1 in 200, stuff like that.
Okay, that's not anything that I need.
Yeah, me either.
Eric P. says he walked up to the pickup counter and is there something going on with Batman this week? But that goes back to the publishers don't even telling their potential customers what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a new Batman #1.
Like even with all the constant reboots, Batman #1 should be a big deal. Did anyone hear about it? A few people did.
I knew nothing about the thing that I saw in the comic book shop today that got me excited, but I didn't buy any of the books, was a Superman stand that had like 6 comics in it. And I understand that the standee is like has been popping up in shops that normally does not carry Superman. So I thought that was
kidding.
I wasn't kidding. There's a Batman #1 this week, and I went, "Oh, look, a new Batman #1."
No, so I did not pick it up. I probably would have picked up a regular issue.
It wasn't a very good cover on the regular
check it out.
issue.
Well, I think they again, without knowing how many covers that they published, because they do so many alternate covers, like the Spider-Man one.
I think there was only 1 regular cover, and everything else was in the blind bag.
So for
Not
Spider-Man,
100% sure about that, but the one regular cover was just like this. It was kind of like a graphic designy Batman that wasn't. I didn't think it was particularly eye-catching or interesting. Like I saw someone open up like the foil David Aja cover, and that was really nice.
Okay.
But the regular one, I was just like, eh.
There was an interview with Matt Fraction about the new Batman. Okay. I don't even know what the comic. Yeah, I don't even know what the comic press is anymore. I used to visit 4 or 5 websites 20 years ago, and now I don't.
It's all press release weekly. This.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. I agree with you. I recall, there were magazines I would get for a long time. Even Wizard magazine, Comic Books Buyer's Guide, even Comic Scene. There was always at least 4 or 5 periodicals that I would buy monthly to get news about comic book stuff, even comic shop news. And then once it went onto the internet, there would be a handful of places where I would go. And then now I feel like it's a hassle to go to a website to read about news because most of the time they're speculating what's going on in the movies.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care about that. I don't care that there's a photo of what's going on the set of Avengers Doomsday. What's happening here? It's two actors drinking soda, so I don't care about that. That does nothing for me. I want to know about the comic book itself. And even places like what's the one run by Heidi McDonald? I don't
The
even go to
Beat.
that anymore. I find that no real information, about comic book stuff. And again, I'm also not really digging and looking for it. So I think I'm at the point where I rather read it in a magazine or type of thing. Because the problem with going onto YouTube, there's you will find maybe people who are crapping on comics. And they're saying why they don't like this particular current comic, or they're doing indie stuff that they're already on the 6th issue, and it's like, oh, I'd rather start from the beginning kind of thing. But there's no, hey, this is up and coming. So
Well,
I
if
am
it's up
not
and
sure
coming, it's
where
got to
to.
be on the 6th issue. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah. So there's stuff like that where it's like, or here's my Kickstarter that I'm going to be starting this book, and it's like I there's not enough information for me to even dive into something like that.
Movies ruined the Comics Buyer's Guide for me
And
because
even AIPT comics that Eric P is recommending here,
okay.
it has the same thing. It's movie. It's got movies. It's got video games, and those things get in the way.
Yeah. Like if you remember Comics Buyer's Guide when it was the weekly newspaper, it was good then. But then like sometime in the early 2000s they switched it over to a magazine format once a month. And it became more like Wizard magazine. And I just didn't care for all the movie articles. It went from it coming out once a week, so you get all the cool like Peter David column and whatever you get once a week. That went down to once a month. And then the rest of it was filled up with who should play the next Batman. And it was just like,
Danny DeVito. There.
I used to enjoy like reading that cover to cover and just seeing like what's selling well at a local comic book shop in California compared to a comic book shop in Nebraska. And I saw these things where it's like, why aren't these comic book shop guys ever talking to each other? Because you would read that it's like, oh, I'm selling out on this book. And then you read somewhere else, it's like, I can't move this book. And it's like, you guys should be contacting each other. This is
my
pre-internet.
LCS did that a bit. I don't know how much they do of it now, but I remember them. They had some other comic shops where they could get stuff from.
I suppose a lot of retailers are allergic to that because they think they would be helping their competition.
Yeah.
Even if that competition is 500 miles away, so it's not competition.
It was always fascinating to me how you would look at all these comic book shop guys talking about things that they're complaining about or what's doing good and stuff like that. And I always found that fascinating. And I think Comics Buyer's Guide was the only one that was doing it, or that I could recall was doing that.
What was that magazine we used to get at Marvel, Comic Book Marketplace?
Yes.
It was a magazine aimed at comic shop owners. So they used to send copies to Marvel, which we could get and read. I always enjoyed reading it, especially there was like a little area there where every month or however often it came out, different comic shop owners would tell you what was selling and not selling in their store.
Yes.
So that was a good magazine. I enjoyed that.
That information was great, and I found that fascinating. I used to like that we would get previews for free, but not only did we get previews, we got everything the comic shop would get.
Right.
So you can go through this whole magazine and see what was available. And it was kind of cool that we would also get promotional posters because you wouldn't get them anywhere else. They would be part of that pack. And I always found that fun to go through because you would get an idea of what was going on or what was at least available to comic book shops.
Yeah, but my first pull list, let's see, the comic shop opened the summer I turned 15, and that following spring, my friend Rob got his license when he turned 16. So I think I started going regularly and had my first pull box when I was 16. But before then, we figured out that stores got their comics on Thursdays and would generally put them out on Thursday on the newsstand on the racks on Thursday afternoons. So we would go to the local 7-Eleven, the local Stout Steve's, which was like a convenience store. We'd go there Thursday afternoons and get our new comics. No such thing as a pull list, but matter of fact, we'd annoy them because we'd be there. If they weren't out at like 4:00, we'd just be hanging out, waiting for them. You gonna put out the new comics?
Yeah, I've done that at one of the newsstands. It got to the point where they just gave me, here, just open the books and put them up for yourself. And I did that just to get them out. But I did not have a pull box. I didn't discover they did that until the shop that I was going to in college, which was Amazing Tales that Gary Guzzo used to own. And he sold it to go work at Marvel. And I shopped there for about 2 years, 3 before they hired me. And I worked there like my last year of college. But that's where I discovered a pull box. And then I had one at what was the next one? I had one after college. I was working at Marvel, so we were getting the bundles, so I didn't need a pull box. But I was, taking the bundles and bringing them down to Cosmic Comics to trade for credit, and then traded them for credit at Hanley's. Now, if I was smart, I should have kept both accounts and traded a bunch there and traded a bunch to the other ones. But anyway, when I left Marvel, I had a box for a short time at the Dragon's Den in Westchester, but when they closed, some of the part-time owners created a new store called the Phoenix. Phoenix is rising kind of a thing. And I had a pull box there until they closed, and then I didn't have a pull box again until I started doing this show and started trying to get weekly books from Midtown Comics.
Yeah, weirdly, I've only had 2 local comic shops my entire life. M&M Comics is the one that opened when I was 15. I had a pull box there from when I was 16 till sometime in the late 90s when they closed. And the other comic shop in town, which I used to go to but didn't have a pull box, I switched over to there in the late 90s and have been going to that one ever since, even though it changed locations and owners. So it's like I've basically had 2 pull lists my entire life. Like just 2 shops. That's probably very unusual.
Yeah, so Meyer also read those the sales numbers.
Yeah,
that gave you an idea of what was actually going on. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Rick also started pre-ordering in the late 90s. Meyer in 93, although Meyer is older, so he would pick up from the newsstand. What Harry P likes about AIPT is that they do have previews of books and they have reviews, which is something comic book resources used to have, and now they don't. So, and if you stick around. If you stick around YouTube for your comic book news, you'll find out that a lot of the channels advertising comic book talk are only talking about the movies as well. So, so it's not real comics.
Yeah. The movies dominate everything.
And then I get some information from TikToks. There's a group of comic book people that are excited about the stuff that they're reading, and they talk about some of the stuff. But again, it's very selective. People are talking about what they picked up that week, what they like, and stuff like that. Um, but no real, comic book news about what they're looking forward to that's coming up. They're more like these are what they already bought.
Right. My weekly video people will suggest things to me on occasion, so I found stuff that way. And I found stuff watching other people's pull lists,
Right.
that sort of thing. But usually that's, and like I said, I get, matter of fact, I got it early this week, my emails from my comic shop about final order cutoff. And usually I look through the list and I click on something. And then it links me to a little blurb about it. And if I want to know more, I can go search it myself. But that's I guess I get some of my my comic book news on final order cutoff day. There was a weird thing this week too. I usually always do a search in the list for Kobelis and Giarusso to see if they got anything coming out with. And Scott's got a some cover he's doing for DC. But it's a $25 cover.
Oh.
I'm like, gonna pass that one up. Must be a ratio cover because I'm like, oh well. Not paying $25 for a cover. I think that's how much they wanted for the David. I just like the new Batman blind bag ones. I just want to see what they were selling for.
Right.
So I looked up like the David Aja cover, and it was between $15 and $25. I was like, yeah, nice cover. Don't want to buy it.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of those Harley Quinn covers that had the black cover and they had like a picture frame, and so the artwork in the frame would be different. Mm-hmm. I ended up buying those within like a 3-pack at Five Below. Now they would pick up like 5 of them, and it was like, oh, these are cool covers because they were Amanda Conner covers where one would be in black. One would be in pencil, one would be in black and white, one would be in color. And like these are neat, but I enjoyed opening them up because I bought them in bulk from Five Below for like, I think $3 per pack.
I think those were the ones that had holograms. That's why they were in the frame, because the hologram was only that big.
Right.
So then they did the version of it with just without the hologram too. I think I got one of those by Amanda.
Yeah, Eric P has started doing TikToks of his pickups again, which
is
cool.
Fine, John.
Eric, you can't post the direct link, but you can put in the name of your TikTok channel. So
TikTok handle, yeah. And here is my advice to any of you posting TikTok poll lists. Please, I'm begging you, turn the mirror function off on your phone. Because a lot of phones by default, when you're using the front-facing camera, they mirror it because they think people are more comfortable seeing themselves reversed like in a mirror. But it makes all the logos reversed. It makes all the artwork reversed. That's how you can tell the people who haven't turned off the mirror function, is because all the logos on the comics are reversed. And that just drives me crazy. I'm like, I've stopped watching any TikToks with showing me comics that have that mirror function on. Yep. Just because it's like, why am I bothering? And there's plenty that don't have it.
Yeah.
It's just annoying to see letters in reverse.
I don't understand the idea that I'm looking at myself. You're not looking at yourself. You're filming yourself. You're not supposed to be looking at yourself. You're not supposed to be comfortable watching yourself.
You're just not as beautiful as I am. I love watching myself.
It's hard not to stare at the camera. I did an interview for a Japanese company, and they were like, it was a documentary type of thing, and they were visiting Marvel, and I was like, okay, we want to interview you, and he should have never said anything. He should not have said, don't look into the camera. All I could think about was looking at the camera. And once I saw the interview, they cut it down to like me practically being in the background because it was like, I'm talking to the guy, I'm talking about the stuff, and then I just like look at the camera. Talking to the guy, just look at the camera.
Just
It doesn't
act
help
natural.
that there's a red light on top of the camera as well.
Just where you could look.
So I think if he did not say, "Don't look at the camera," that's like saying, "Don't think about an elephant." All you're going to do is think about the elephant.
Well, a lot of normal people were not used to talking to other people. They will look at the camera even if you don't tell them anything. Because the camera is usually big, and they're being interviewed, and there's somebody on the other side. And instead of talking to the person that's talking to them, just go, so I was watching that. Yes, don't look at. Yeah, Ted Gallen had a few things for the mail, Jared, and actually had a few things for you, Wilson, but they ain't going anywhere until the mail to the U.S. Canada.
Yeah,
stagnated.
Nobody knows what it costs to mail something to the U.S. anymore.
It's insane.
Just a mystery.
Yeah, and I'm sorry about that. I apologize about that. But it's nothing I can do. I sold something on eBay, and it was supposed to go to Britain, and then all of a sudden, the guy just didn't listen. Didn't listen. I sent what it's going to cost, and of course, it must have put the guy off, and it's like nothing, crickets. And I send an email back. Hey, do you still want this? I completely understand. The price shot up. There's no reason to buy this. Just tell me you want it canceled. Nothing.
Your $20 order is all of a sudden $40.
Exactly. And then it got to the point where it's like, he never got back to me, and there's nothing I could do with this item because eBay won't let me cancel it.
Right.
Because it's an
takes
active.
A month.
It's been over a month. Oh. It should automatically be off, but nothing's happening. So I'm now going to have to contact eBay and go, hey, can we do something about this so I can, relist this item? I'm fine with it, only shipping in the United States for a while. But I'm also noticing a price increase for within the United States. And it's like, why are you raising the prices? Especially for mail, because it's like, I know the price of mail. There's no reason to pay $10 or maybe even $15 for this item when it costs $5.75 to mail.
Mm-hmm.
A comic book shouldn't cost more than $5.75 to mail.
Meyer, I do these stupid fitness videos and I'm so tired of seeing myself. But Meyer, unlike a comic book TikTok, if you're doing a video about fitness and gymnastics, you actually do need to see yourself in the mirror as if you're in the gym, so you can see your movements. Probably no. It's not $400. Should be, I don't know. I guess it depends on the size of the package, but something like a pack of 4 or 5 books would probably be about less than $25.
And speaking of it costs too much to ship, I bought 3 magazines this week. I've always wanted to fill these in. I don't know if you guys know about Eclipse magazine from the early 80s. Mm-hmm. This is a Carl Potts cover, who we worked with at Marvel.
Yep.
Destroyer duck in the back.
Yeah.
This is issue 4. I got issue 4. Issue 5, which I actually have in issue 5 already, but buying them all 3 at once was cheaper than buying the 2 I needed. There's a Mike Kaluta cover. And it's got stuff by Kaluta, Rogers, Gene Colan, and more. And it's got some Ditko in it. I've had every issue since the early 80s except 4 and 8. Now I've got 4 and 8. Englehart and Rogers. But this was sort of like, Epic magazine. Not quite heavy metal because it was all American. The Masked Man by B.C. Boyer. And a lot of the Eclipse comics I bought started in here. Like I bought a Ragamuffins. I bought The Masked Man, which by B.C. Boyer, which was a Spirit inspired comic that lasted for maybe 6 or 8 issues. So I'm glad to have. They're in Mylar, but they're in the 1 mil Mylar. You can hear it crinkling.
Yes. I was aware of the magazine. I don't recall ever buying it.
Yeah, it was
And I was
only
aware of
available in
Eclipse because I
comic
like
shops.
that destroyer duck
Oh yeah,
advertisement on the back. I have that book. So
right.
I did buy Eclipse books, but I don't think I saw Eclipse magazines on the stand when I was
Sticks
buying the
Comic
book.
Service on the back of this one. Back when across Canada, around the world. This is back when distributors used to advertise in comics. Winnipeg, Manitoba. When in Winnipeg, visit our store, 1858 Arlington Street. What if Comic Crack ever went there?
Can I see that piece of artwork that is with that ad? It was
Sure.
like a bottom piece of art.
That one?
I've seen that image before. So I've had to have seen the ad.
Yeah. Let's see. Copyright Sticks International. So that's their own ad. This one, let's see. That's also Sticks International. So that's their ad artwork. But I'm glad to finally get these. But when I mentioned I'll have to start a business shipping to Canada, then have some drive across the border and ship inside the US.
That is not necessarily unheard of.
What are these it's like comic book art you've seen because it's Gene Colan, it's Marshall Rogers.
In color or black and white?
These ones are black and white. I think I remember them being in color. There's the mask. Maybe it started out in color. This is issue 8. I'll have to open up issue 4 and see. There's Trina Robbins.
Oh, nice.
Let's see. Who else do we have here?
And these are all creator-owned, right? Eclipse.
Yeah, this is all
right?
This is Coyote. So that's Marshall Rogers.
See, I think I had the issues of Coyote.
Epic
in the
Comics
comics.
published Coyote after this. Let me take a look at issue 4 to see if any of it was ever in color.
Because they might have started as the magazines and then went into comic books, and then the comic books were in color.
Yeah, the magazine came first. Whoops, and then they published the comics. Don't drop it. I almost did. Let's see, where's issue 4? Like a lot of these were comics later on.
Yeah, so I think I got the comics of them, and those were in color.
Nope, this is black and white too. Hunt Emerson. I haven't opened the ones I have in so long. That is probably I'm just remembering the colors are in color.
Right.
Here's some more Marshall Rogers. I Am Coyote. I mostly remember Coyote from the Epic. Mm-hmm. Who is this? I don't know. Back when they used to put out portfolios.
Yep.
Let me see. Where's the editorial by Dean Mullaney?
Ted Goblin says those are cool. He sees them from time to time and still remembers seeing them on the stands.
Yeah.
Nice. So who was the editorial staff for Eclipse?
Let's see. Editor Dean Mullaney. Associate editor Jan Mullaney. Production E. Leslie. James Shannon. General assistant Madeline Feinberg. Typesetting Brooklyn Bridge Publications, New York, New York. And printed at Prenny Print and Litho, Windsor, Ontario, Canada. So
none of those names I recognize.
Dean Mullaney and Jan Mullaney I recognize.
Yeah,
because they founded Eclipse. They founded Eclipse. Dean Mullaney was involved with those European comics, classic European comics line at IDW a few years ago.
January 1982. This is from.
Oh, okay. And they ran how many issues?
8. But like Ms. Tree came out of this. Like I said, Ragamuffins. There was a couple issues of that came out of this. The Masked Man by B.C. Boyer came out of this. Comics nobody remembers anymore.
Well, yeah, a few of them never even had their own title.
Yeah, so I seen those as back issues in the comic book shop. I don't think I ever picked one up as a back issue, but I did pick up the comic books that were re-released later.
Ms. Tree had about 50 issues, and in the 90s was published by DC. So you've probably seen some of those, I would guess. But everything else, I Am Coyote was once again published by Epic Comics. Todd McFarlane's first artwork is in I Am Coyote issue number, I don't know, 7, 6. I used to see that all the time when I started YouTube a decade ago, but I haven't seen it in a long time. That used to be one of those key issues that people would get, like whatever issue of I Am Coyote it was that that has the first McFarlane artwork.
I think I saw a recent TikTok where Todd was talking about it, where someone came up to him with the issue, and he was talking. This was his first published work.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't even look like usual Todd art.
Oh
Which
yeah,
is
well
normal.
everyone's first work always, because it's like almost in a way it's like it is Todd McFarlane, but this is before he was Todd McFarlane in a weird way.
Yeah, Eric P says Mystery is currently being collected by Titan Comics.
Yeah. I think I read Hard Case Crime. I think the writer of Ms. Tree is what's his name? Max Allan Collins, who also writes novels, and he writes novels for Hard Case Crime.
Yeah, and he had a long run as a Dick Tracy newspaper strip writer.
Yes. That is true. But the reason I mentioned shipping on this is because, like I said, I've been meaning to get those since the 80s. I've been meaning to fill in those back issues since like 1983, whenever I missed them. I have the other 6. And they've been on my want list on mycomicshop.com for like a couple of years now. And sometimes they have them in, sometimes they don't have them in. But since I only make an order once or twice a year from there, I just never kind of get them. Finally, I was like, since I was getting all this Walking Dead stuff, I'm like, let me finally get those. But I've had this particular set because it's one of those cases. That's a key change. You need a love check to get it signed.
A chain key.
Yeah. Now, are there any chain? I'm not sure there are chains in that issue of Coyote.
But and usually, like I said, these issues go anywhere from like $8 to $15 a piece. Nobody's buying them. And there's also like, $8 shipping on them, whatever the shipping is. It's always like, do I want to drop $15, $20 an issue? No. And so I've had this set of 3. Like I said, I only really need 2 of them. And the price on them was like $8 or $9, but the shipping was $16. So I'm like, oh, come on. If those prices were reversed, I'd probably be okay with it. I'd pay $16 for the 3 and $7 shipping, no problem, or $8, whatever it was. And though now I know why people do that too. Was like these have been on like my wish list for like 6 months, and I finally pulled the trigger last week, and the guy sent me an offer. It was like 30% off, but like 30% off of $9 is like $2.
Yeah.
So it went from like $9 to $7, still with the $16. Finally, I went, all right, I'll get them. $7, $8 a piece is okay. So I finally got them now, and I was mentioning this on my pull list video. I was like, well, now I want to reread them because I've always meant to reread them. But when I reread them, do I read issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, or do I read like all the Ms. Trees and then all the I Am Coyotes? I'm like, huh. I'm like, I think I want to read issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, because that's kind of how they were meant to be read. But but it's
Yeah,
interesting when rereading an anthology. How do you reread it?
right. I tend to, if I go back, I think I would want to read them as each individual issue,
Right.
because it's kind of like this way here. There's a bit of a palate cleanse,
Mm-hmm.
and then read the next one, and then go from there.
Especially since I'm not going back to read one thing specifically. I want to read them all.
Right. You want it as that experience of how it was
Right.
together, kind of
Being
thing.
back in 1982,
Yes.
reading Eclipse Monthly, which I probably didn't know to put it on my pull list because that was 1980, the summer of 1982. Like I said, the comic shop opened in the summer of 1981. That's when I discovered it. Summer of 1982, I was when I turned 16. My friend was already 16, so he was driving to the comic shop in that summer of 1982. So I probably didn't know to put it on my pull list. I was probably picking up the issues when I saw them on the stand. That's why I missed 2 issues.
Chances are they probably weren't monthly. Those are probably bi-monthly
Yeah,
magazines like that. I remember not that necessarily that issue, but
right.
anthologies like that weren't monthly. Those were usually every
No,
couple of months or so.
they
Yeah, I
probably
think
weren't. When you think about it, and also,
that number 8 you have, that's the last issue, isn't it?
yeah, it's the last issue.
So I think they come out about 8 issues over 2 years. Let me
So
see.
quarterly, maybe.
Yeah, but and like a $2.95 magazine for a comic shop was a big purchase in 1982.
Yes.
That was I can remember my like when Dark Knight, the first issue of Dark Knight Returns came out, my comic shop owner trying to figure out how many issues of it to buy because that was an expensive book.
Yeah.
That was like a $4 book at least. Like there,
$3.95 maybe.
yeah, $3.95. Right. There weren't books like that, and there was not returnable, so they had to try to figure out how many they could sell, and that was the book that made Batman hot again. Batman wasn't hot, so that like they sweated out how many of those to buy. So I imagine they weren't buying a lot of extra Eclipse magazines. An Eclipse magazine was replaced by a comic book anthology called Eclipse Monthly a little while later. That one I think I have all the issues of because by that time it was on my pull list.
But yeah, it was quarterly.
Quarterly?
At least there were 4 issues a year because I see them
Yeah.
May, July, then May, July covers, but then only November.
Dark Knight Returns, 1986. Cover price was $2.95.
$3. So, and what was your average comic then?
1986.
Yeah. It was $3 for a DK.
60 to 65 cents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a lot more than a regular comic. So you could really, I mean, you had to, if you were a comic shop owner, you had to invest a lot of money in Dark Knight Returns. And you didn't know if you were going to get your money back.
Graphic novels around that time was, I think, $6.90.
Oh yeah, that was another one they sweat out was Death of Captain Marvel.
Yeah, must have seen those in a back bookcase or wall or something. I thought I saw them new, but I was 2 then. If it wasn't Smurfs in '82, I never give a shit about a false memory.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, that's why the Death of Captain Marvel and Dark Knight Returns were both in such demand. They were shorted and in such demand back then because shops didn't order enough of them because they didn't know to. Death of Captain Marvel was a completely new format.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah. In America, it was.
yeah. In America,
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, you had, it was the whole concept was new.
Right.
Also, because we're so used to periodicals, is that story going to continue somewhere else?
Right.
And
It wasn't. That was the whole point. That was what was so new about it.
But if you didn't know,
Yeah.
you had no idea. And the books that came out were unique because they were all technically number one issues, although they had a numbering system.
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, for a
It must
short
have
while.
it must have been very confusing to people. Wait, these are all in the same series, but they're unrelated stories. I don't understand.
See,
That was
I
the other
probably
thing
couldn't
too,
have
because
even, as I was buying the Marvel graphic novels, I probably couldn't even told you they had numbers. I think you had to
you
look
went
at
for
the
titles.
indicia to see any number.
Yeah. So you have New Mutants. It's issue number 4. So you didn't
Mhm.
know, like I when I was a kid, I thought these were all just number 1 issues.
Right.
And it was like, oh, so New Mutants, where does that continue? And then continuing in the regular book. Was God
New
Loves
Mutants.
Man Kill part of the X-Men or not? That was the other thing too, because was it, sometimes they would say this is loosely connected, and sometimes they said it wasn't.
Yeah, because there's an issue. There was a continuity problem about Cyclops being there. Because it makes the story having to take part in like 36 hours or something, and it doesn't.
Yeah, the New Mutants was the weird one because I can tell you my expectations when I was buying those graphic novels is that they were self-contained,
Right.
that they weren't part. It's not like they were. It's not like God Loves Man Kills was out of X-Men continuity, but it also wasn't in it. It was its own thing, standalone graphic novel.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the production values, they could have published that in an annual, and nobody
Right.
would have batted an eye.
But New Mutants was weird in that that was the first issue of the New Mutants. And it was kind of like, what? That one I remember being strange. And the DC ones could just be anything. They had like their original graphic novels were based on video games and weird concepts and just stuff out of left field.
Yeah, the only thing that was related at all to DC was the New Gods one.
Yeah.
2 of them were kind of set in the same universe as Atari Force.
Right. There's a couple like those sci-fi-ish ones. I still have them on my shelf. I haven't
Yeah, and
looked at them.
the sci-fis are literary adaptations.
Yeah.
But so were a couple of the DC graphic novels. One was called Me and Joe Priest. I think that was an adaptation, and then there was Metalzoic, which was published concurrently in 2000 AD because it was made by Pat Mills and Kevin O'Neill.
Mm-hmm.
Ted Goblin, Grendel, Fish Police, Mage, books like that. Hey guys, we have no idea when these are continued, what company is releasing them. Try and find our comics mystery adventure. Could have made a children's TV show about it. What's the most cross-company title released randomly? Fish Police?
Fish Police?
Nowadays it's probably, no, I guess this one's not random.
Godzilla. Godzilla's with every company now.
Right, but Gru,
But I mean,
Gru
and Usagi.
Yeah.
I would say definitely Usagi has been to many companies.
Well, Usagi's been not as many as you think. Let's see. Well, maybe it is. Dark Horse, Fantagraphics, Mirage. Who published it? Who started the color publishing? I forget who. Titan.
Did IDW?
IDW. And now it's back. So maybe 4 publishers on Usagi.
Yeah, but Gru was at Pacific, Eclipse, Epic, Image, Dark Horse, then back to. Actually, I don't know. I think it's still a Dark Horse for.
Yeah, it's been a Dark Horse for a few years now.
Yeah, when it's the least when it has the least regular publishing schedule is when it stays at the same company for many years.
So Godzilla was at Marvel, then Dark Horse, IDW, and I think that's it. And then the crossovers are just Legendary has their own imprint as well, but it's the Legendary Godzilla.
Yeah, DC now.
DC does the crossovers, and then
Tarzan also jumped around a lot.
Tarzan.
But those are books that just go to the highest bidder. I think that's different than Gru and Usagi.
Right, because those are creator-owned.
Yeah, because then you put Star Wars in that as well. That's a license, so that goes to whoever has that license. So it would have to be creator-owned, where something like Spawn was 2. Was a Malibu before it became Image, or was always Image?
Well, Malibu just published them because Image didn't know what they were doing yet. So it was an Image book that Malibu published and distributed. Until Image
Didn't all those guys self-publish like Savage Dragon for Pacific? At least one issue or something?
Yeah, he was in something. He was in graphic. I forget what. I got a facsimile of it that came out a few years ago.
But that one was self-published.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or at least it was Eric with Eric with the guy who invented Vanguard.
Silvestri?
Right.
Vanguard?
Mm.
No, Carlson.
Don't remember anymore.
Not Gary Carlson. Oh, yeah, Gary Carlson. Yeah. So it was Eric Larson, self-published by Eric Larson, and I think Gary Carlson helped.
Let me show you the 3 first issues I got this week. I got 6 comics, and 3 of them were first issues. The first one is this one's a little bit of a cheat. It's Skin Police 2, issue number 1. It really should be issue 5 or 6. I don't remember now. This is the one I bought because of the Daniel Hiti art. Jeff Powell, who used to work in the Marvel bullpen doing the lettering. And this is the one that's about, it reminds me of Blade Runner. And there's our lead. Instead of calling them Blade Runners, they call them Skin Police. And they're hunting down clones. But the clones don't want to be hunted down.
Yeah.
David Hiti did, I think he did Uber. That's where I first discovered him. But I've been buying his stuff for a little while now. So there's all sorts of conspiracy stuff going on in our... This story is kind of like if Harrison Ford in Blade Runner is slowly discovering, well, he kind of did in Blade Runner too, that the people who he's working for aren't all that. Maybe what they say is happening isn't what's happening. And the other one was Everything Dead and Dying. This is Jacob Phillips, Sean Phillips' son. And who's doing the writing? The writing is Tate Bromball, artwork by Jacob Phillips, colors by Pip Martin, letters by Aditya Bidikar. And I got to say, this one was I like Jacob Phillips' art, but I've yet to buy a series by him. And I don't know if I'm going to buy this one. This is one of those that you read the whole book and it's like double-sized, and then the entire concept changes at the end. The first book is about this one guy here who's a farmer. And he's just doing his farm life, digging up, taking care of people. He's having these nightmares. He's got a daughter. And slowly you catch on that something happened in this world. And he's the only one left alive. Except that everyone else get turned into zombies, but not really zombies as we know them. They sure are the living dead. But he goes around and raises the crops and like the zombies just keep. There's his husband and his dead daughter. She's not really looking. He keeps imagining them alive, and he's been living his life for 10 years with zombies all around him, and they just go through the motions of their life, doing whatever they did on the last day, and he kind of feeds them. And takes care of them in this small town that's in the middle of nowhere. And he just kind of keeps going on living his life, not knowing what to do. But then the end, it completely changes. I'm going to spoil the ending because why not? When a bunch of people show up and they blew up the zombie who was right in front of him, who was no danger to him. So it was well done, but kind of made me go, what was the point of that? Is now going to turn into a typical zombie story? I don't know. And the other first issue I got was Romanis Magicae. Story by Matthew Blair, art by Paul Peart Smith, colors by Eva de la Cruz, letters by Mika Myers, cover by Ezra Gilmore. And it's this, I'm a big fan of history, so this takes place in ancient or near ancient Rome, Germania, 9 CE, but the lead is a Roman.
It's about the massacre of it should be about the massacre of Teutoburg Forest.
He's a survivor of that. So he's a survivor of that. Everybody he knows died. So he's a miserable drunk who wants to die. He gets involved with these people who are hunting some weird monster thing and saving this girl. And it was an okay story, but the production was bad. First of all, how am I supposed to read yellow on black type? And all the lettering was a little fuzzy.
But without yellow on black,
how are you supposed to know that they have this type of voice?
Exactly. And the lettering was all a little fuzzy because it was CMYK black instead of 100K. So I kind of enjoyed it. But how much for $5 or however much it was? I really don't. The production bothered me, and I feel sorry for them because they obviously just don't know. Naked statues, fat gladiators, and war elephants. Frequently asked questions about the ancient Greeks and Romans. Not sure what that is. Like, if the production on this were better, maybe I'd buy another issue, but it kind of, I like I said, I feel sorry for them just because I specifically might not buy it because of the bad production, but other people might not buy it because of the bad production and not even know it. They just might go, oh, that was a little too hard to read or something like that. So, but those were my 3 first issues this week. I think a lot of my comics have ended, so it's like I got to find new ones to buy. I only have a few coming out next week. So it's like,
Oh, and I forgot to remind you again to pick up the Kirby.
I was able to pre-order. I was able to reorder it.
Okay.
So since I wrote it down last week.
Okay.
I wrote it down. If I write something down on a little piece of paper, I remember to bring the little piece of paper because it's sitting on my drawing table. So I always remember to bring it. And Lunar has some copies of it. So anybody, what is it? The Man Who Saw Tomorrow? Man Who Dreamt?
The Man Who Dreamt the Impossible.
The Man Who Dreamt the Impossible. Image Comics published it. It's oversized, not normal comic book size, and it's a tribute to Jack Kirby.
Yep.
And published by
Image.
Image and Paolo's someone.
It was written by my
Oh,
dealer.
written by someone. Paolo. Written by Paolo's dealer.
Because he organized the Kirby 100th anniversary exhibit.
Right.
When it was on tour and it stopped by Portugal, and he got the guys from the Kirby Museum to come here. They did a panel. They hosted a tour of the exhibit. Made sure made sure that we stopped for several minutes just looking at the comic strip that Kirby did with Wally Wood, because they managed to recover some of the art from the comic strip, which was lost.
They have that all collected in a book now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
What was the name of the strip again? Do you remember? It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. Rip Hunter? No, Rip Hunter was but it's something like that. That was the DC comic. Time Master Rip Hunter.
I guess it's something about space.
Something about space.
Oh yeah, I can't remember the name of Kirby's comic strip from 1958. Sky Masters.
Sky Masters. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Eric P says another of the characters that jumped around a lot, the Shadow. But the Shadow is like Star Wars.
I think are always going to jump around a lot.
Yeah, but even in the 40s, the Shadow jumped around between companies because even Street and Smith tried their hand in publishing the Shadow themselves as a comic book.
The Shadow.
One other thing that they had in the exhibit, Kirby had done a proposal for a Phantom card animated series. So you have the Phantom drawn in Kirby style for a cartoon, and it looks amazing.
You know, the Shadow's got good name recognition, but when is the last time you think we could define the Shadow as popular? Part of like everybody's, I think everybody who knows who the Shadow is, their like view of him is still from like the radio serial and the pulps.
Yes, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I think of him from the DC books.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but even then, that's like, it's not Shadow. The Shadow, it's the Shadow as something for connoisseurs.
Yeah.
Even if it's a brand new audience, that is a specialized new audience. It's like people who start listening to Miles Davis now.
Yeah, so for me, when I think of the Shadow, I think the Mike Kaluuya covers, and I do think of the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's about it. I never went digging into watching or listening to the radio dramas. And I don't think I ever watched the serials.
But still, I would say that the last time the Shadow was actually popular was probably around 1952.
Yeah, it's weird to think about.
Because after that, it becomes like Miles Davis, is only for a specialized audience. And since the movie was not a commercial success, it fell into turning the Shadow into a household name again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Shadow, likely the late 50s, when people were writing songs about him.
Yeah. Before we were born.
Same goes for, actually, no, the Phantom was more popular in the 70s than it was in the 50s.
And the Phantom has never been popular in the States.
No. I enjoyed the movie, but I knew nothing about him. So for me, the movie was fun. And the first time I read a Phantom comic was because they gave them out at the movies. It was an oversized book, and I think it was the copy that I got were like overflow from issues they had, I think, in Australia, because it was like issue 1000 and something.
Yeah,
which that
the
blew my mind.
the
But for
comic was
me, that
weekly.
was
Yeah.
that blew my mind, and it was like
I,
it was really cool.
I think if you were to ask 100 random people on the street who the Shadow and the Phantom were, 20 people would get the Shadow and 0 would get the Phantom.
Hmm.
Defenders of the Earth. He was running around in that, so you do have a group of kids. Well, they're not
Yeah.
kids anymore. You would have a group that enjoyed that cartoon.
Okay, I don't even know that cartoon then. Defenders of the
They,
Earth?
the
And then there
Defenders of
was
the Earth.
one.
They took
There was one
the
called Phantom 2040. That was a 90s
Steve,
cartoon.
Steve Ditko
Mhm.
drew that for Marvel.
Ah.
Uh, so the Defenders of the Earth was they took the concept of all the King features heroes and
Mhm.
made a superhero team out of them.
Okay.
So you have Phantom, you have Mandrake the Magician. They also the
Was it on TV
it
or?
was on TV. It was a cartoon on television. Had
And it
Flash
was
Gordon.
Sunbow Entertainment, so it was part uh, of the Marvel Studios
Right,
Ah.
because
production team.
Marvel also did the comics, and they also introduced the children of those characters.
Hmm.
So they had like side B because they were kind of making the Teen Titans as well. It was basically King Features creating an Avengers of what they had, or truthfully, more like the Super Friends with the Teen Titans
Right.
concept.
That
Yeah,
just
It's
reminded me there
it's
was
common
a
like the Phantom 2040. I didn't know it was made by the guy from Eon Flux.
yeah.
ah there was a Spider-Man 94 comic out today.
Hmm.
Ah,
Yeah.
I would have picked that up. I didn't realize that came out.
Yep.
Buck Rogers and Flash Gordon have had more lasting popularity, mainly from the '80s film TV series.
Yeah.
Right, because the Buck Rogers TV Buck Rogers appeared on TV, so at least people were talking about it for about a year.
Yeah.
Everybody my age knows Flash Gordon, quarterback, New York Jets. Go Flash, go.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but
that is
that thing's a cult hit.
yeah, that was a cult hit. So that's why
That was
people
that
know
was
those
one of those that
characters.
became a cult hit because of HBO and
Yes, because they
TV.
played
No,
it
no, no,
at
no, no.
nauseam.
That thing became a cult hit in Europe too.
Oh, okay. It became a cult. That was one of the first. There was a phenomenon that started in the early 80s with films becoming hits because they hit HBO. They may have been flops at the box office. They hit it. Flash Gordon was one of those. I was just mentioning another one. Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yes.
Dark Side from this room.
Mhm.
What is it? Somebody Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. Like that movie bombed at the box office and then became a hit the next year on HBO.
Mhm.
John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, and the
Defenders,
song became a hit too.
Yeah. So
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 Defenders.
Defenders of the Earth was from '86. Yeah.
Yes. So they had the
okay,
cartoon, they had the comics, they had a toy line, and now it's being published by I think Mad Cave has that license.
Hmm. Yeah. The Buck Rogers. There were 2 seasons of Buck Rogers.
Uh,
I could have
there
sworn
was
that thing only had one
one
season.
season of Buck Rogers, and we ignore the second season.
Ah.
First season was fun. The second season completely awful,
So
unwatchable.
it's like Galactic in 1980. We don't mention
Very,
Galactic in
very
1980.
much so. So the Buck Rogers first year was a lot of fun. Wilma and Buck going on adventures. The second year they decided for some reason we need to look for the lost colonies of Earth because they went into space. So Buck Rogers goes looking for them. Wilma basically becomes a character that stays on the ship and sends Buck on missions. They changed the cast of people that we liked. The only good thing from the second season was this character that was a Birdman character who had a really cool spaceship, and he was kind of like the foil. He should have been a whole season foil, but he was like the bad guy for maybe 3 episodes, and then he became part of the mission. They introduced a very annoying robot that would be like this argument between Twiggy and this robot. Because again, they want to do Star Wars, and there was 2 robots in that, and it was just so bad. But the first season was entertaining. I'm currently rewatching that at my lunch hour just because to have something to watch.
Yeah, that's true too. I'd forgotten about that.
Flash
Gordon movie had
Gordon.
legs because of the Queen soundtrack.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the reason why it became a cult hit in Europe. It was because of Queen.
Yes.
Of course, the movie's ridiculous, but the Queen soundtrack helped a lot.
Yeah,
very much so.
Yeah, Wilson 100% season 1 was super fun. Second season had two-ish good episodes. From your description, I don't think they were trying to be Star Trek. I think they were trying to be Space 1999.
And bore us to death.
I think they were trying to be more like Battlestar Galactica, the whole searching for something in space. Mainly it was for a plot. But again, they could not get it going. And I think it became more silly. And again, it's like I am not too sure what it actually was. I don't know what they were chasing because there was, as far as I'm aware of, not another space show going on because Galactica already stopped and Star Trek was gone for that point. So I think it might have also been there was no Star Wars going on either. It was between those Star Wars movies as well. So yeah, second season just brought the whole conversation to a halt. See how bad it is?
That's a bad season.
Yeah.
Right, and then there's no space. Okay, so when Buck Rogers ends, there's no space stuff on TV until the Star Trek TNG.
I don't think there was. I think, yeah, I think so. They might have been things tried, but I can't think of any off the top of my head what space thing was going on after Buck Rogers. And between, because Star Wars was, I think Return of the Jedi is a few years away, and the Star Trek movies,
Galactica 1980.
But that ended in 1980.
But again, that was something tried, and it just didn't stay on.
Yeah.
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy.
That was popular, and then after
Nanny.
then we get into the superhero stuff. Greatest American Hero, and
in '83 there was something called Benji Zax and the Alien Prince, which was sort of a kids' TV show.
That must be a new thing.
Yeah, and I guess nobody watched. They showed about 6 episodes here. I don't know why. In between cartoons. Yeah,
and I don't know.
I watched it.
And I don't know where Space 1999 fits into that because I did not watch that.
Right, because Space 1999 was a British series, and it started in the late 70s.
Okay.
But it also has only 3 seasons.
Okay.
And they had to introduce a sexy character to get people to watch the show.
Right.
Maya.
Oh, wow. This cover is by Marshall Rogers with colors by Lynn Varley. That might be the earliest time I've seen Lynn Varley's name. Because this is 1983, and I don't think I remember seeing her name until Dark Knight.
Lynn Varley had a cover, I think, on Bizarre Adventures.
Ah. Not the greatest cover ever, by the way. I got to say, out of the 3 I got, this one is probably the least of them.
Yeah, I can't even tell what's going on there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's rubbing himself with a loofah, but his other hand is bloody.
No, I think that's something holding him. I think that's the thumb of some creature.
Oh, something wrapped around his neck and he's grabbing it?
I get it.
It could be a thumb of a giant gorilla kind of creature, if that's a
Ri-
thumb, and the other things are fingers, hairy fingers.
Yeah,
But I'm not
yeah, and
sure.
the cover copy is covering the gorilla's head. Bottom left.
Oh, that's a. That look. This down here is supposed to be a gorilla.
I think so. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just not sure what's going on. But you're right. I think something is supposed to be wrapping around his neck. Let's see if
Yeah.
the inside gives us a clue.
If you guys can, if any of our viewers can tell, we'll take suggestions.
Yeah.
All right, so sci-fi shows of the 80s. Let's see what takes place in space. Alien Nation, Alf, various
Alien,
Star Wars animated series.
Alien Nation was 89, right?
89 to 90, yeah.
Okay. Right.
So
Captain Power is not set in space.
Buck Rogers ends in 81.
Mhm.
Red Dwarf is 88, but that was British.
Yes.
So we didn't really have much. We had Twilight Zone in 85.
Right. But that's
And
an anthology.
yeah, and Amazing Stories in 85. Misfits of Science was 85, but that was sci-fi, but not in space. What was V? Was V?
The one about the
early 80s?
the lizard people from
Yes.
outer space.
1983 is V, and those started off as mini movies,
Mhm.
but they didn't really visit space. That was a
No, space
Earth
visited us.
yeah, that's an Earth-based series. So yeah, we can say we didn't go back into space until 88, 89 with Star Trek.
Yeah.
Next Gen.
87. It's 87.
87.
Yeah.
Here's our Lynn Varley blurb.
That was
Lynn
6
Varley
years.
colored this issue's cover and has recently become one of the most sought-after colorists in the field. She collaborated previously with Marshall Rogers on his Batman portfolio, and her work will soon be seen in Frank Miller's Ronin and Howard
Okay.
Chaykin's American Flag.
Ah, okay.
I did not realize she colored Chaykin's American Flag. And Ronin. I guess that makes sense.
Right. But Ronin's expected because it was her husband.
Were they married by then?
I think they were.
I don't even know. I don't know what their timeline is. Buck Rogers.
Then Star Trek was being made into what they were calling Phase 2 as the next TV show, but then they scrambled. They stopped that and decided to go into motion pictures with that instead because they saw how much money Star Wars was making in the movies.
Yeah.
So like TV show, forget that. Movie time.
Yeah, movie money.
Let's get some of that movie money. Movie.
So yeah, so we wanted space. We would have to go to the movie theaters and not in the not on television for a while.
Want me to show you the last 3 comics I got this week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's show you. This one was one I was lucky to get because I thought I put it on my pull list, but I did not. This is The War, number 2, Garth Ennis, Becky Cloonan, Tamara Bonvillain. Who's the letterer on this? Do we have a letterer? Pat Brousseau is our letterer. This is from Boom. And this is the one that's a kind of realistic take on what if the Ukraine war escalated and New York just got hit by a nuke or something. So these are our characters in New York. And it's a kind of realistic look at the aftermath of, nuclear war. As a lot of people fled New York to cabins where our one couple is in a cabin trying to figure it out. This guy's trying to kill himself, but I don't think he was able to. So now we got a couple of people trapped in a subway, not knowing what's going on. So we get a random pin-up alternate cover in the middle of the book again. I think that's pretty cool. It's just like, oh, here's another pin-up random cover. Like I said, I think it's another cover. It switches at the end to this guy and his wife who made it up, his pregnant wife who had to give birth up in this cabin. And as you can see here, she's a wreck because I think the child is dying. So, and in their world, a bunch of armed men show up in the end. So he's like, oh, crap. So it's really kind of a depressing look at what would happen if we started slinging nukes around. Though there's not much going on with radiation at this time, so I don't know if it's nukes or just giant bombs. Who knows? Then we've got this is the one that's got the big number on it, issue number 8 of 9 of the Tin Can Society. Who's doing this one? Peter Warren, Francesca Mobili, Chris Chukri. Let's see, who's the letterer? The letterer is Jackie Marzon. And this is the one that's about the Tin Can Society is the name for all these guys up here were friends when they were kids, and one of them grew up to be one of them who was handicapped. His legs didn't work right. Grew up to be a Tony Stark type inventor and invented stuff for handicapped people, and then made himself some Iron Man armor. But of course, the company he was working for stole the armor and killed him. And now they're trying to, they're all kind of hooked up with armor, but the company's coming after him and trying to kill him. So this whole issue was like a fight between armored people underwater, trying to get to the surface. We got one more issue to wrap this up. So we'll see how it goes. I've been enjoying this one, but I might give it away to students. And then let's see, the last one we have is Don't Run with Scissors. The written by Francesca Perillo, art by Stefano Cartaselli. That's why I bought it. Colors and lettering by Lorenzo Scaramella. I like his artwork. He's our Flamingos guy. And it's really, it looks like it was made for a different format sometimes. And sometimes he really comes in on the margins. And I'm like, is he designing? I'm like, why does he have so much white around it? So I'm not quite sure what he's doing, but it's a Keen Spot book. It's expensive, $6. And it's one of these, I think, that was Kickstarted first. And it's a story about, I don't know, a bunch of zombies with scissors in their head taking over. A bunch of monsters that turn people into zombies with scissors in their heads. And the monsters will kill you with giant scissors.
All right. Very, very.
So it's really weird. I think there's only one issue left, though. Let's see. To be concluded, yeah. So there's our issue 4 is going to wrap it up. Like I said, I'm a Stefano Cartaselli fan. That's why I'm picking it up. Although, like for $6 an issue, I'd say wait for trade if a trade is going to exist. I don't know Keen Spot's publishing schedule, but I think you got to be a real fan to pay $6 an issue for this. Because clearly it's written for the trade.
But we've had 11 people watching for a couple of times, so please thumbs up and subscribe.
Double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up.
There you go.
Keep thumbing up.
But that's another one. Like I said, I think all my series are running out because I got one more issue of Don't Run with Scissors, one more issue of Tin Can Society. And I had 3 first issues this week. 2 of them I don't think I'm going to pick up any more of. So I'm going to find some new series to buy.
So these books, you're not really you're buying the series, of course, but you're
Right.
more following the artist, right?
Yes.
That
Him
the creative team.
Right. Like I'm buying this because of Garth Ennis and Becky Cloonan.
Right.
I like both of them. I'm buying this because of Stefano Cardacelli. This one I just tried out, and it was pretty good. The first issue, I liked it. This one I just tried out because I looked at a preview, it looked okay, and it's history in comics. That's up my alley, so I'll try out an issue of that. This one I tried out because I like Jacob Phillips' art. I just haven't found a series of his I liked yet. And finally, we've got this one I picked up because the David Heaty artwork. He's a guy I've bought the last few things of his. I think I remember I think he drew Uber Invasion the second half, and I picked up a few other things. But I think he's worked with Kieran Gillen before. He did that Watchmen Thunderbolt thing that I liked. I think he drew that one. So I picked up a few things by him. So yeah, I'm following the creative teams mostly.
Right.
But giving a chance to some that, I might not know the creative team. That's how I follow new things.
Are you going to, without Diamond and everyone spread out among all the publishers, or are you going to figure out which series to pre-order now?
Well, luckily I get the email from my shop that has final order cutoff for all of them. Mm-hmm. So all I have to do is, matter of fact, I should share my screen. Let me see if I can show you exactly what I do. Let's open this inbox.
Yeah, because you're lucky to have a store with that good customer service.
Yeah, exactly. And it's only because the owner has a day job where he writes code.
Yeah, I happen to just look on the Midtown Comics website. I'm not too thrilled with that site. But if I know the title I'm looking for, like the Jack Kirby book, I'm able to get onto it, and that's what I did earlier tonight, was get onto it and then add it into my cart, and then I was able to add it as part of my pull list. Not to say that we're getting that book every month, but what it will do, it will be the next time I get my pull list filled, that book will be added to it. Plus, I'll get a discount for that book as well. At least 20%
This is the
off.
email I get. So this is the email I get where, let me hide that. Where I can go through this, and it's got all, like, this absolute, these are all the different, there's Batman. We come down here to DCKO. It's like, here is the Koblish one, Scott Koblish wraparound foil, $25. I'm like, no thanks. Like, let's see, here's Cruel Universe #2. I just click on that right there, and it brings me to the preview of it. So I can read a little description and see who's doing it. And if I want more information, I can just Google that. And but like I said, every comic shop should have it. Then all I got to do is click on add issue only or add title. If I want just the issue, I click on add issue only. If I wanted to add the series to my pull list, I click on add title issues. So it's real easy. And that's all there is to it. So every week I get one of those and I scroll through and I see what catches my eye. And that one I made sure, because it's final order. And usually Like the issue of The War just came out this week, and final order cutoff for issue 3 is Monday. So I just click on it now.
My shopping so far for something like that. Yeah.
It really should sell it. I mean, if you could. It works so well. At least for me. I mean, I just click on what I want.
I used to go through the Westfield website, see what was coming up, and send an email to my LCS. And since it was usually just straight paperbacks, it was easier.
The other one I just started using. Let me see.
They basically scribble things on the back of. Yes. But that's normal, isn't it?
Let me show you League of Comic Geeks. I just started using this just to keep track for the heck of it. This is League of Comic Geeks. This was my pull list for the week. There's one that's missing from it, so it's not perfect. But you just click on this button over here to add it to your pull list. And this has nothing to do with my comic shop. This is just me keeping track. In collection, mark is red, and I can go forward here. And this is what's coming out next week. Or I can even go click on new comics and go down here to, let's see. Oh, there's that Batman cover I didn't like. No, it's Discover, pardon me. I go to Discover. I scroll down here to
what website?
Final order cutoff reminders. I go to view more. And this is all the stuff that's on final order cutoff Mondays. So you could go here and see and let your shop know that if you want some of these. And you can see Monstrous is already in my pull list, so you can see it's checked green there. And if I wanted to remind myself to add to put it on the pull list, I just click this little plus button. Like I said, this doesn't actually put it on my pull list, but it reminds, like Sleep's final order cutoff Sleep number 5 is this week. So this is a pretty nice site for seeing what's coming out and what's. Oh, look, New Fun is coming out, a facsimile edition of that. So that's that's one I just discovered. I just discovered that like this summer and started using it just for the heck of it. And it also, I sent an email to my shop with titles and SKUs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared, you shop 100% sales went up after you got the code running. I've never asked him that. I'm sure it helps keeping sales. Probably takes a bit of work for him to update. Yeah. And some people ignore the email. I would probably say at least half the people who I see in there don't know it exists. They ignore the email. They don't look at their email. But I love it. I love to get it. I love to look through it and see what's new. I can see what's coming out that week and go, oh, I want that one. I want that. Just have to press a button in order to order it.
It's everything easier.
Mm-hmm.
Considering most make it complicated.
My League of Comics would be okay.
Oh, earlier in the show, I didn't bring it up because we ended up straying in the conversation. But Tit Goblin had asked, "How was your first week of classes?"
How was my first week? Well, it was my second week this week, and it's going pretty well. I like my students. That's what I remember. He was asking about non-digital stuff, and yeah, a lot of the students still do non-digital stuff. They do traditional media. They got classes in it. My classes are digital, but I show them how to integrate digital into their sort of work process. Some draw right on a lot of them, if they're going to draw, they draw on their iPad, or some of them also draw on Clip Studio Paint, either on their iPad or on the Wacom. But yeah, what did I give away? I finished giving away that pile of 60 comics or so from 2018 that I don't even know who gave them to me. I don't remember, and I gave Jake is my student who's most into. I've been giving him comics for 3 semesters now, but I can give him. He's just like he's a comics fan like we are, so he's interested in anything. So I can give him like specific stuff. The other students I bring in like, and there was another student I had last semester who once again I'd bring in specific stuff for. The other students are kind of like, ooh, comics, cool. I want some of them, but I don't know if they really like comics. Some of them just like free stuff. They like looking at the art, but I don't know if they're really comics fans. But Jake is really a comics fan, so like I gave him Napalm Lullaby, the Rick Remender and Bengal series that just ended this summer. 10 issues. It was one of those. That's what I figured I'm going to give him now too. Stuff that I liked, but I'm probably not going to read again. Like I enjoyed that series enough to buy all 10 issues, but when am I going to read it again? I got other stuff I want. I want to read Eclipse magazine. So it's like, you know what? I'll get rid of this right away. I'll give him something new. So that's what I'm going to like. Got a few things lined up like that, which I bought, but they were bees to me. I don't need to keep them. Pass them on. So that's what I'm going to do with Jake this semester. It's just like I'm just going to like newer stuff that I enjoyed. That I enjoyed it. Bought the whole series, but it's good. I'm good with it. So I can clean off my current shelves a little bit. With the other students, I'll bring them in random things. Maybe I'll pull something out of Jerry's boxes out in the garage that he gave me at the beginning of COVID.
There you go.
Yeah.
You should slowly start teaching people subconsciously to put dolphins in flamingos. Sure, they do.
Not subconsciously, that'd be kind of like get extra credit for dolphins and flamingos.
Have you ever told them about our show and what we do in it?
Some of them I have, but I don't think most of them are interested. A couple of them have watched over the year, especially my pull list haul. A couple of them have watched now and again, and some of them have found the show when looking me up, kind of to see if they want to take they find my YouTube channel, of course. They want to take a class with me. These days, of course, you can Google your teachers.
Right.
And see who they are if you want to take a class with them. Some are like, "Ooh, yeah, I want to take the class with this guy."
How would you explain the dolphin and the flamingos?
I'd have to tell the whole story. I'd have to start at the beginning.
Yep.
So the French Comics Code.
That's actually an easier story to tell than the flamingos.
Yeah.
It just amused us that Stefano Cardacelli was drawing flamingos in his dystopian Earth comic. That they're just flamingos flying around and watching stuff.
And getting blown up. And not caring.
Just kind of hanging out. It had nothing to do with the story. I guess he just liked drawing flamingos.
Have you ever done read, rip, or slab with the class?
No, never have brought that up in class.
Well, that would be kind of interesting to. Okay, so they're being taught the commercial applications for art, right?
Yeah.
So in this case, it would be an interesting exercise because they would have to explain what they think is interesting about the covers.
That's
and
true.
What they would do with them.
I'll have to think if I can turn that into something. Read my dolphin.
Hey, that's a good artist friend that owns
the sky.
They're my skies. I just took some pictures of clouds, I think yesterday.
Wilson's sky. I've had a picture of I usually have Facebook. Right now I'm talking on my laptop. I also, over to this side of me, have my desktop with the 27-inch screen. which is usually on all day. That's where I do most of my work when I'm working on it. And also, I have, my browser is always open. I have tabs on my browser. I'm one of those people who works in multiple desktops. I've got my graphic design desktop. I've got my social media desktop. I've got my pay and work desktop. I've got a random desktop for whatever when I need a clear desktop. So usually when I'm not working on it, I have my social media desktop up, which has got Facebook, my email, and a dictionary. Those are the three things that are up on the screen. So I'm always trying to figure out something. Facebook is so much ads these days that I'm always looking to just leave something up on the screen that's not an ad. And all today, I've had a Tom Morgan drawing of the Falcon, which is really good. He posted, I don't know if you guys know who Tom Morgan is.
I do.
Wilson probably knows him from Marvel.
Yes.
Yeah.
He used to.
Yeah, I remember. Tom Morgan was he drew the part of the storyline where John Walker becomes Captain America.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he used to come in. He was a nice guy. He used to come into the Marvel bullpen a bit in the 90s. Did you know him from there, Wilson?
Yes, I know him from 90s. I know him from being an artist on Iron Man.
Okay, that's right.
And we the publicity department dealt with Tom a lot because Tom was one of those artists that would be willing to do interviews. I have no access to this stuff, but there was a time where you could buy ads on the radio for Marvel, and they would do little interviews on these ads, and Tom would come in and he would do like voices for the characters. And he would did Iron Man versus the Mandarin and stuff like that, back in the day. So he was a lot of fun publicity wise. He was also the first artist to draw my original character from Team Kaiju. So that was the first pinup that I ever owned. And I even have I don't have it hanging up now, but I have an Iron Man pinup from his last issue of Iron Man that he did. So I think he was also the first piece of artwork I ever got, original art. So I knew Tom for years, and he does, as you mentioned on Facebook, he puts up images, and every now and then I'll pull one down and color it, and then put it back up when it's usually a Spider-Man one.
He posts a bit of his commissions, and his Falcon commission. I really liked today. It's kind of John Romita-ish.
Yeah, he was a Romita Raider.
Yeah.
And so he could do a good Romita style.
Yeah.
He could do a lot of he does a good style of a lot of the Silver Age artists.
And his Falcon wings are very geometrically perfect. They must have done them digitally somehow.
I think he works both digitally and traditional.
Yeah, he could have printed them. He could have done them digitally and then just redrew over them. But I like that his Falcon. I've had that up on my screen all day. I just glanced over at it and was like, I should tell him about that nice Falcon. It looks good.
Yes.
Tom Morgan. I only recently became friends with him on Facebook, so I've been seeing his stuff lately. My friend Ed was like, "You're not friends with Tom Morgan on Facebook? Friend him. He posts a lot of cool stuff." I'm like, "Okay."
Tom Morgan drew that what if story where Wolverine becomes the Lord of the Vampires. There's a cool story. I remember that one. One of my favorite what ifs from the second run.
How many
amount of Marvel Age covers too?
How many 1990s Wolverine what ifs were there?
I have no idea.
What if Wolverine killed the Hulk?
That's from the first season. That's from the first series.
No, it's not. That's from the second series. Yeah.
No, that's impossible. I read it. I read it in I read it in a
from a-
Brazilian comic in 1987.
Yeah, you're right. It's late in the first series. Okay. What if Wolverine killed the Hulk? What if Wolverine was the Lord of the Vampires?
What if he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
What if he was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.? What was the one where he's all metal on the cover?
We have
Okay.
what if Wolverine has been
Okay, so I got the Max Amazing World here. So let's
Inferno?
see. Yeah, but it's Wolverine on the cover, but that's an X-Men story. So a
Okay.
proper
Well, I'm
number.
counting it because Wolverine's on the cover.
Okay, so that makes it issue number 6, which is the Inferno one. Issue number 7, he becomes an agent of Shield.
What if he married Mariko?
24 is the one where he becomes Lord of the Vampires. 37. What if he had been Lord of Vampires during Inferno?
Yeah, there's like 3 Lord of the Vampire type stories by the looks of it.
Yeah.
What
He
if
appears
the
on the cover.
X-Men? What if the X-Men lost the Inferno and he's on the cover?
Yeah, he's on the cover of 40, which is actually a Storm story. 42, 45, 40.
So they'd put him on the cover if he was just mentioned in the comic.
Hold on, this is Cable. Let's see if Wolverine. No, Wolverine's not in the Cable one. That's Magneto. But what if Hulk had killed Wolverine? That's the one that's in
That's the one
volume
with the
2.
metal.
Oh, is that the
Yeah.
one I'm
Cover.
thinking of? Okay.
Yeah, with the metal cover, number
So
50.
volume 1 was what if Wolverine killed the Hulk, and what if volume 2 is what if Hulk killed Wolverine?
Yep.
Right.
That's why I was confused.
56, 57, 58, 59.
That was a metal cover. Yeah.
59 is what if Wolverine was the leader of Alpha Flight, which is like early Brian Hitch.
I just
62
remember there being a lot of Wolverine and What If, and sure enough.
Yeah, 62 is what if Wolverine battled Weapon X. And
I think that's what Tit Goblin just mentioned.
yeah, and it's one of the few stories that Ron Randall drew for Marvel.
Wasn't Wolverine Weapon X? So how would he battle?
But in this one, the Wolverine was not as drunk when the guys from Department H try to capture him. So he subdues them, and they go for their second choice, which is the Mountie. 66, 69. 60, wait a minute, 69 doesn't 69 appear? Amazing. It's a stretch story, but there's no Wolverine.
Eric P says, "What if Wolverine went to therapy?" That's what Tit Goblin says. They had a Rob Liefeld cover. Yeah, I remember. I remember Rob Liefeld Wolverine What If too. I can't remember which one it was.
87 is Sabretooth. Here it is, number 93.
Eric P. What if Wolverine played in a rock and roll band?
What if Wolverine went feral?
I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was the Liefeld cover.
That was the Liefeld cover?
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Okay. Yeah, I can vaguely picture it. There was
And
levels to it. It was like
and 111. 111 is the last one. What if Wolverine was the Horseman of Apocalypse? Which, ironically, he then became a Horseman of Apocalypse in the real story.
What was the last? So what if Volume 2 had 111 issues?
114.
114. Wow, I would not have guessed that. I don't remember What If Volume 2 going that long. Wow.
Because this one was actually monthly. The original one was bi-monthly.
Were they double-sized issues? Volume 2?
No, Volume 2 were regular size, but they had no ads.
Okay.
Some of them had no ads. I see they have 26, 20 pages of story, so those have no ads.
I wonder how many people out there have a complete set of What If Volume 2. Because I never see that anywhere. I never see it on YouTube. I never see it on TikTok, except for that Rob Liefeld cover.
Yeah. Here's the thing. This issue is inked. The cover too. It's inked by Scott Williams.
Oh.
which is an interesting choice because Liefeld usually inks himself, or it's Henry Candelario or something.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it doesn't look like typical Liefeld. But all of these early stories are most of these early stories are written by either Danny Fingeroth or by Jim Valentino.
Huh.
I pitched a story for that series.
114 issues.
There's one here where what if Punisher's family hadn't been killed? That's written by Doug Murray from the Nam.
Huh. How much money do you think it would cost you to get all 114 issues of What If Volume 2?
I guess it depends.
You may have it in your garage with
check Jerry's book.
with Jerry's books.
What if Wolverine battled Conan? So this one has Gary Quippi's art.
Quapsis? Is that how you say that?
I don't know. I pronounce it Quippiz.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I remember people pronouncing that Quapsis. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it or not, though.
I think this is Czech, so it would probably be Quipij.
Yeah. The Americanized version would be Quapsis.
What if Phoenix rose again? This one has the Phoenix fighting the Sentinel, so and this one is by your not cousin Rodney Ramos.
Uh-huh. Eric P says, "What if Wolverine was a YouTube influencer?" I don't, that's not what he does best. So I don't know if he'd be a good influencer, because we know he's the best at what he does, and what he does isn't pretty.
War Machine.
And Eric P also says, seriously, what if number 114 was a Secret Wars 25 years later as a fave event?
Uh-huh. That was a Greg Siegel.
Greg Siegel wrote the last issue of What If?
What If Volume 2, Issue 114 was Secret Wars 25 years later. That was Greg's first actual book.
Wow.
And the book that I pitched never got printed. Mine was going to be What If She-Hulk kept mutating. Because she did not get enough of the gamma radiation transfer. So she basically became a gamma vampire. And was
a gampire.
And was grabbing characters that were gamma irradiated and basically becoming a vampire, and just kept mutating from the gamma radiation. And so I had her go after gamma characters. She almost went after Spider-Man, but let him go because that's not the same type of radiation. And he was like, what the hell was that kind of a thing? And they were hunting her like the old Hulk.
Here's something funny. Issue number 4 is the one where what if the alien costume had possessed Spider-Man? And this predates Venom. So the symbiote does something that is not what Venom does. What the symbiote does to become Venom.
See, Tit Goblin says, I almost had a run as a kid. I loved What If too. It was easy to find in drugstores for whatever reason. Yeah.
What If was easy to find.
What If 105, Introduction of Spider-Girl, also featuring comedic comic strip by Chris Geruso. Look at that.
Right, it appeared in the not in the letters page, in the bullpen bulletins.
Yep, that's where he started. That's where the mini Marvel started. Mini Marvels. Marvel's extra small.
Yeah, but some of the guys doing the art I've never heard of. Like there's a Leandro Fernandez here doing a What If with Gambit.
Wow.
which has Angel really being pissed off at Gambit on the cover.
Yeah. RP says those 105 first Spider Girl goes for big bucks. So that'll probably be the most expensive one in the run to get.
Yeah.
But probably those later issues didn't have could be the case of there were fewer printed, so they're harder to find, those later issues of What If.
But here's the thing. So I'm looking at issue number 99, and it's written by Lisa Hawkins. And she
Oh,
has like 2 credits.
she's an editor.
Right.
She she just got let go this year by Valiant/Alien Books. She was the editor-in-chief at Valiant for a couple of years. She worked at Marvel. First, she was Virginia Ramita's secretary when we were there. Then I don't remember if she got an editorial job at Marvel or DC first. But she ended up at DC.
He went up the ranks at Marvel, and then went over to DC.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If I remember correctly.
I don't remember. Raphael is the one who replaced her.
Right. She
I don't remember where she went.
She was an assistant editor.
Whose assistant was?
At Marvel. She was.
I can't for the life of me remember.
Was it Nell Yomtov?
I cannot for the so she was an assistant. So she moved into editorial at Marvel and then moved over to DC.
Yes, because she was definitely she was on the what was New Mutants, not New Mutants, Mutant X. So she went into the X books, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she was the one who said, "What do you mean everybody's doing it?" And then the Jimmy Bucks at Jim Hanley's Universe got stopped.
Yeah, and What If stories again during the time, this is 98, between 96 and 98, there was tons of stuff being put out.
Yeah.
So there was I think there were more books than, there were more books than writers. Yeah. So I think that's why it was easier for her to be able to pitch and get a book. I pitched a couple of books. None of them ever got printed, but
once you're in editorial, that's when you could get, because in that period, editors could still freelance.
Yes.
And once Jim Shooter put an end to the writer-editor, the editors would just give each other writing work. But so
would they let the writer have a pass on whatever they wanted to do?
No, they'd still edit them. I mean, they'd still. But if it's your buddy, you're giving writing work too. You're gonna
right. That I understand that it happens. It shouldn't, but but I kind of understand what I wanted to know is, because it's your colleagues in editorial, if you're doing a shoddy job at yourself at editing, just so that they can do whatever they want.
I think they gave each other more leeway than they'd give a regular writer. I would think. Like if editor A is hiring editor B to write and vice versa, they would probably leave each other alone more than they'd leave freelance writer from the outside alone.
Because I think a few years before this, Tom DeFalco gave Christopher Priest a lot of grief on Thor.
Yeah, I don't think you're giving your buddy that much grief.
Right. But DeFalco and Priest did not like each other, apparently.
Right.
And Priest was it was still Jim Owsley, so he was Thor's editor.
Mm-hmm.
And DeFalco was Thor's writer, but he was the editor-in-chief.
Yeah. Whoops. Tell your boss he's doing it wrong. There's a good idea.
and DeFalco came up with a parody of Jim Owsley in one of the stories.
Huh.
Not a not a very complimentary one.
Not a complimentary one.
But yeah, but at this stage, sure. Even Brevoort had some. Even Brevoort had a few at a few stories because he was co-writing things like Secret Defenders.
Right. It surprised me he never wrote more.
Yeah, but even he admitted a few many years ago that he was not a good writer.
Yeah. But he always had, like, editorial wise, he always had good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And he knew how to hire good writers. He was one of, I'd say, the brighter editors I knew there when it came to ideas. But you guess you're right. He's just not a writer. But that's unusual with editors. Most of the editors are wannabe writers.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I don't think Craig Anderson was a writer. I'm trying to think of the editors that weren't writers. Bob Harris.
Craig
Bob Harris was a writer.
Yeah, Bob Harris was a writer. Tom DeFalco was a writer. Bobby Chase, I don't think, was a writer.
No. There are a few credits here and there.
Yeah.
Marvel Comics Presents, I think.
I don't think Craig Anderson was a writer.
He did write Marmaduke strips.
That's what, wasn't his father?
His father created Marmaduke.
Yeah.
So I remember he talked about that he wrote some of the strips. Okay. But I don't know if he wrote anything else after, or any of the comic books.
Yeah.
Craig just liked being an editor and was very gun ho for especially Guard. And he could spin a yarn when he's talking to you about it.
Right.
Because I remember him pitching the whole story about who survived the Mars attack war and how they were putting it into that future, and because he was trying to sell the idea to Gary so they could sell it to Wizard to do an article on it. And he was good telling the story of how they're getting from point A to B, and the Legend of Spider-Man was a cool little thing because he was the last hero to fall.
I think Joey Cavalieri wrote some stuff, but I don't think he wrote a lot.
I don't recall.
Mark Grunwald, of course, was a writer.
Right. Yeah. He wrote Captain America for a long time.
We have a lot of credits for Joey Cavalieri here. Okay. Even in the 80s at DC.
Yeah, I think that's where he wrote most of his stuff then, it must be. Because
I
don't know if he was writing anything for Marvel in the 90s. Danny Fingeroth was a writer.
Yeah. He was more of a writer, actually.
Yeah.
Cavalieri he had a bunch of, so he did House of Mystery, Weird War Tales, and he had backups in for example, he did Huntress backups in Wonder Woman, Phantom Stranger backups in Swamp Thing, Green Arrow backups in Detective. There's a lot of stuff here in the 80s. Then he goes to Marvel in the 90s. He does have a Ghost Rider Iron Fist story in Marvel Comics Presents, and another Iron Fist story. He did a Excalibur annual, Ghost Rider annual. I think this is a short story. Yeah, there's 13 pages, but he does have a lot of writing credits. I guess by the 90s he wasn't writing as much.
I think he went back to DC in the late 90s too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, after 2099 ended, I think. Craig Anderson has 3 stories here. A Spider-Man fill-in in 1985. A Conan short story in Savage Sword in 1985. And a short story in The Impossible Man's Summer Vacation Spectacular. So yeah, they didn't do much. Bobby Chase has more stories, amazingly.
Wow. And Marie Javins is a writer, but not of comic books.
Mm-hmm.
She's written travel books and
Yeah.
colored tons of comics. She was a colorist.
So Bobby Chase did a Star Brand, the Star Brand Annual,
Uh
which I actually own.
huh.
And then she had a few Marvel Comics Presents stories, including a Spellbound serial. Spellbound was a very not well known character who that had a mini series sometime in the 90s. And Bobby Chase also wrote one of the Star Trek Voyager stories.
Ah.
Actually, no, wait a minute. No, she didn't. She
See.
lettered it. She didn't write it.
Yeah,
She
she was
lettered
the
it.
editor of Star Trek.
Chris Cooper, writer, but not for a lot of comics. TV star now too. Had that birder show on National Geographic.
Right.
Huh, there are a couple of stories written by Marie Javins. So Savage Sword of Conan 187. I read Sonya's story. Marvel Comics presents a Firestar serial. And yeah, that's it, I guess.
And you have Suzanne Gaffney. Did she write any books?
Gaff.
I don't know.
She was actually the first editor to hire me to write.
No,
And I was writing handbook entries for the Marvel Universe handbook.
No, she colored a story in the Marvel Superheroes anthology, and she colored a pinup in a New Warriors annual. So yeah, there are a few guys in editorial who actually didn't write.
Yeah. I don't think
But
Renee Witterstatter wrote much.
Maybe.
Tip Goblin. Jared, your recent art card in watercolor is great. The one in your new web post. Glad you liked it. I was having fun doing those. This is going to be my comic strip for 2026.
I think I have this story too.
So long shot.
Renee wrote a 5-page backup story in a Silver Surfer annual. And I think this story was used to fill up space in one of the Brazilian comics. Because it's drawn by Jim Valentino, and it's actually not about Silver Surfer. And there's a short Conan story also by Renee in Savage Sword number 185. So yeah, there's not many. I guess the longer you are in the business, even as an editor, you're going to end up writing something here and there.
Especially in the 90s. Marvel was publishing a lot of comics. Mm-hmm. And Marvel Comics Presents had 3 bi-weekly stories.
Right. Wilson, when you proposed those stories, what year was that?
It was right. It would have to be right before the end of What If, because that was the only one that got as far as teaming me up with another writer.
97, 98.
Yeah, best until 1999, I think.
Right. So it probably was 97 or 98, because they had teamed me up with Bill Roseman to try to basically get a logical way into it. So he brought in Mobius, and it was something that he found in the story where he was going to use it to help the She-Hulk, but instead he used it for himself or something. That's where the What If diversion happened.
Was What If a book that people could pitch their first stories for?
I think so.
Kind of, yeah. It was there were certain books that you could pitch to.
Like it always needed new stories. There was no regular art team.
Right.
You couldn't pitch an Uncanny X-Men story and expect anyone to care.
Right. And then I was kind of working with Johnny Green and Fred Haynes to pitch a what if story with the Falcon. And it was a kind of an Agents of Shield type of story where somebody, I don't remember, it was the Skrulls or some organization, were trying to replace superheroes with their own people, and they went after the Falcon first because they thought, well, no one would miss the Falcon, kind of a thing, and then it turned it into making Falcon a badass kind of a character.
Mm-hmm. Well, we should let Paolo get to bed.
Yeah, so we can wrap this up. So next week, it's on Jared's channel. Yep. I will not be here because I will be at a family function. So you guys will have to talk about pencils or something.
We'll have to do without Paolo.
We'll figure out something. We'll miss you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can start the show by, glad we don't have that asshole here.
Now that asshole isn't around.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And I will see you later.
Everybody. Take care.
Catch you next